Sauron, the Dark Lord of Middle-earth, is a shapeshifter. Unlike the Balrogs who were fixed in their monstrous forms of fire and shadow, Sauron, a Maia of Aulë the Smith, possessed a unique ability to change his appearance and take on different shapes throughout the ages. From a being of light to a shadowy necromancer, his forms were many. Now let's explore the 11 different forms that Sauron has been known to take throughout his long dark existence in Middle-earth. Let's get to it. Let's begin chronologically with the first one, the original form. Sauron's first form was that of a Maia spirit, a lesser Ainur, created by Eru Ilúvatar before the world began. As a Maia, he was a spiritual being of immense power, with no fixed physical form. In this original state, Sauron was known as Mairon. He was a being of pure spirit, formless and radiant. At this point he was not yet corrupted by Melkor, and his essence was still aligned with the Valar. The second form, the fair form of Mairon. When Sauron left Valinor around the year 1050 of the Years of the Trees, he traveled to Beleriand, and he had to abandon his original more divine appearance. He took on a human-like form, tall and fair, though not really gigantic as stated in the Silmarillion. In this form he retained an aura of power and authority, reflecting his past as Mairon, still undiminished by darkness. Yet it was during this time that he would be corrupted slowly and slowly as he began to be deeply involved with Melkor. Number 3. The Serpent Form. During the Wars of the Jewels, particularly in the War of Wrath, Sauron is described as having taken the form of a gigantic serpent when going off into battle. This shape symbolizes his cunning and malice, a creature capable of stealth and deadly force. The Serpent Form was both a disguise and a reflection of his character, a deceiver who could strike swiftly and ruthlessly. As a serpent, Sauron would enter the battlefields and fight alongside orcs, Balrogs and dragons. The fourth one, the Werewolf Form. So Sauron had a particular affinity to the form of a wolf, a shape that he would take on in many occasions. One of the most notable moments of his form was during the conquest of Tol Sirion in the year 457 of the Years of the Sun. As a massive and terrifying werewolf, he laid waste to the island fortress, renaming it Tol in Gorhot, or the Isle of Werewolves. The werewolf form was one of his preferred shapes, allowing him to embody raw ferocity and strength. Number 5. The Vampire Form. So in the story of Beren and Luthien, Sauron faced the mighty Huan, the Hound of Valinor, in a fierce battle while in his werewolf form. Overpowered by the great wolf hound, Sauron was forced to transform into yet another shape to escape, that of a vampire. However, in Tolkien's world, a vampire was not an undead creature of later folklore, but a giant man-bat hybrid with vast wings and a shrieking voice. In this form, Sauron fled and hid from Morgoth, fearing his Dark Lord's wrath, seeking refuge somewhere in Middle-earth. Number 6. Annatar, the Lord of Gifts. Around 1200 of the Second Age, Sauron adopted his most deceptive and charming guise, that of Annatar, the Lord of Gifts. In this form he presented himself to the elves of Eregion, claiming himself to be an emissary of the Valar sent to share wisdom and aid in their crafting. As Annatar he was fair and wise, with a captivating presence that earned him the trust of the many elves, including Celebrimbor, the master smith of the Elven Rings. In this form Sauron manipulated the elves into forging the Rings of Power, setting the stage for his later conquest attempts. Number 7. The Dark Lord of Mordor. So Sauron was imprisoned and taken captive to Numenor by Ar-Pharazôn, and yet became his advisor, and then manipulated the Numenorians into attacking Valinor, which resulted in the destruction of Numenor itself and his bodily form. But his spirit returned to Mordor, unable to take fair form again. Yet he donned his most infamous form from then on, the Dark Lord clad in iron armor, wielding a massive mace with a helmet crowned in spikes. This armored form represents his embodiment as a spirit of terror and war, a being who could no longer disguise his malevolence. Number 8. The Necromancer of Dol Guldur. So after the One Ring was cut from his finger by Isildur, Sauron's spirit was severely weakened and nearly destroyed. For nearly 1,000 years, his presence faded, but yet he slowly gathered his strength again. By 1050 of the Third Age, he appeared once more, this time as a shadowy and formless necromancer in the fortress of Dol Guldur in Mirkwood. In this guise, he remained hidden from the wise, plotting his return and rebuilding his strength through dark arts, curses and spreading his influence over Middle-earth and the Free Peoples. Number 9. The Deformed Form. So during the War of the Ring, Sauron had begun to reform a physical body within his fortress of Barad-dûr, but this was misshapen and incomplete. Gollum, who was captured and brought to Mordor in the year 3017 of the Third Age, described Sauron as having only 4 fingers, indicating that he was still recovering from the loss of the One Ring. His new form was twisted and broken, a grotesque mockery of what he once was. This was his final physical state, and would only be destroyed with the One Ring's destruction. Number 10. The Allseeing Eye. So one of the most famous representations of Sauron, especially in the Peter Jackson's films, is the Allseeing Eye, on top of Barad-dûr. In the books, however, it is less of a literal eye and more of a symbolic manifestation of Sauron's will and presence. Those who bore the One Ring or came under his influence described the sensation of being watched by an ever-vigilant eye, a feeling of dread and exposure that pierced their very souls. This form of Sauron was more of an omnipresent consciousness, ever watchful and probing, seeking to dominate all wills. And of course, number 11, the One Ring. Lastly, Sauron's most enduring form, in a sense, was the One Ring itself. In forging the ring, he poured much of his malice, power, and even a significant portion of his very soul into it, allowing him to maintain a tether to the physical world even if his corporeal form was destroyed. The ring was Sauron's greatest weapon, his greatest vulnerability as well. It was him in another form. Now those are the 11 different forms of Sauron. If you like this video, then watch this other one too, and do check out our channel for other Dragon, Monsterverse and Middle-earth content. We might have things you haven't seen before. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.